this mother on fire!
Mixies presents the Popcast.
Record button. You do it every time.
Hey everybody, my name is Brian, that is Shane, and this is the Popcast, and we are talking about the Orville's episode 3. It was aired last night. I'm pretty happy with it. I know some people aren't. It's going to be an interesting show. I think, Shane, you're going to have to eloquently lay out our path here, because it's going to be a hard one to navigate.
There's nothing eloquent about Seth MacFarlane.
No.
Really, to be honest with you. Nothing eloquent about him. But About a Girl, episode 3 of the Orville was, in my opinion, a great episode. I feel like it was the first true return to Star Trek, the original series.
Return, though?
Well, I would say
homage.
Yeah, well, homage, whatever you want to call it. I mean, we've been waiting for this for a long time.
Yeah.
The next generation had a lot of overtures for different things happening, but the original series dealt with social issues of the times. It was, people didn't really recognize it on a large scale until after the show was over, because there was no internet, there was not mass world communication like there is now. So back then it was a little more less obvious, I think, that that's what they were doing. So the outpour of outrage that we are getting today after the Orville came out last night, because we're talking about transgender issues and all kinds of different things that extremists love to talk about. And so you've got extreme liberals complaining that he didn't go far enough into it. You've got extreme conservatives wanting to know why we're even talking about it at all. And, oh, you went there, just like all liberal TV shows.
And yeah, people like us who are like, guys, it's a TV show. Calm down.
Yeah, calm down. Let's
Please
everybody
relax.
Can we just move to the middle here for a second, everybody, and just kind of let's have some common sense over this, and let's talk about this from a perspective of what was Seth's goal. Seth wants to he wants to have a fun show, but he wants to grab the flavor of the Star Trek universe and bring it into what he's doing. And he's succeeded hugely last night with doing that. It wasn't a perfect show. There were problems. It was probably lighter than heavy. But if you want to go deeper into things, like a lot of people are complaining about, we didn't get enough backstory on what is the history of the females in this race, and why don't we know more history? Hey guys, it's episode 3.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's and plus you'd have to cut a lot of the humor if you want to spend that much more time going into. If you want TNG drama, then you're going to have to cut the humor, and that's not what any of us want. This show's special because it's got a little bit of both.
Right.
So got a lot to say, but that's basically, I think, where we're going. Let's come to the middle and just agree that
we're
going to touch on the topic, and that's okay.
No politics. Speaking of, Shane is trying to turn me into a betazoid. If you notice, I have hives on my face because he poisoned me with the hair dye from my punishment. PPDVD, whatever it's called.
Sounds like a venereal disease, bro.
Yeah, whatever it is, the chemical. I'm allergic to it. I've taken all the meds. I'm actually going to see a doctor today to get my skin, to check out my skin. So yeah, next time we do a punishment, I think I'm gonna keep hair dye off the options, because I've had 3 days of pain now since that punishment.
It's working, Smithers.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, sorry about that, brother. If I had known that you were allergic to it, I probably would have.
I didn't know either. Yeah. It's gonna be fine. I'm going to the doctor's today. I'm gonna get something. At some point, I'm gonna have to. I don't know. Anyways, we're also, remember, we reached our 400. We're going for 800. I don't have a slide for that yet. We'll have one for the next show.
800 subs. 800
and
subs.
If you notice, the Popcast is season 2, episode 49, because 50 is our review tomorrow, and boom, season 2 is over. We'll go into season 3 of the Popcast. That's 2 seasons under our belt. Thank you so much for watching.
Yeah, couldn't do it without you guys. Thank you.
Would not do it without you guys.
Love the comments.
Would not do it.
Would not. I love the comments that we've been getting. I mean, it is great going back and forth with you guys talking about this stuff. So keep it coming. It's very engaging.
It is. Okay, onward and upwards. Let's talk about the Orville season 3. And
let's recap the episode for us.
Well, we open up with a great shot of most of the cast members looking over the baby,
right?
In that cool, 360-degree face looking down thing. You knew instantly they're looking at the baby. It was pretty obvious that because there was a last week they left us with a cliffhanger, right?
Right.
Or last Sunday. And then this little adorable baby, and she's adorable. At this point, she is a she, and she's very adorable. And I love the makeup and how they got a baby to sit still for all that. It's impressive.
Yeah, for the makeup, I thought the exact same thing. Did they must have pre-made it and then put it around her head and then kind of just massaged it out or whatever so that it wasn't too time consuming.
Yeah, I don't know how they would have done it. I don't know. And then they ask them to leave, and they're going to talk about their baby, and there's an ominous tone where they're like, we need to discuss this, and you're like,
yeah.
Oh no,
what's going on?
Baby's in trouble. Boom, cut to the doctor, and is that Adam Carolla? No, not Adam Carolla. Norm Macdonald's voice, and that crude joke where he makes a male appendage for the doctor.
I did not like that. I just thought that was too far. I'm like, listen, I'm not a stick in the mud or anything, but I just didn't think you had to show somebody stiffy. You didn't have to show a stiffy to get the joke. I just felt like it was a little too much.
Yeah, I'm a little apathetic about it. I did think it wasn't necessary. He could have gotten the point across without it, but I mean, it didn't actually look like a penis, right? It was just like an appendage.
I mean, everybody knew what it was. What the joke reference was.
Imagine if it was like a lifelike penis, though. That would have been horrible.
No, I don't think that would have worked. I mean, I'm pretty sure I don't know. I don't know what they would have been allowed to do, but it was just a little crude, a little weird.
Yeah, well, so the Blob character walks out, says hello to... Yep, thank you. Says hello to Bortus on the way out. Bortus just sort of casually watches him leave.
Yeah.
And then Bortus is asking the doc to perform a sex change operation on his baby. So, this is where everybody starts to read real quick.
Yeah, it was a shock. I didn't see that coming. I just assumed they would automatically implement the. That's so funny the way we think. I didn't think that would even be a topic. But then I'm like, oh, okay, Seth, taking the opportunity to go after a social issue right away. So
real quickly, yeah. And the doc said no. It's a baby, which to me makes sense. It's a baby. And then they bring up things like, the foreskin and circumcision and cleft palates, and there's good arguments there. But either way, she said, no, it's a baby. And it left you, there was a little bit of a Bortus Dr. rough moment there that it didn't belong in a comedy show, reminding you that this is not just a comedy, it's a dramedy, right? Yeah. And then boom, cut to the holodeck scenes, and I love that stuff. And that was a great scene. They walk up, great. And they thought they're gonna do a Mexican standoff, and the guy's like, a dance competition, yeah!
Well, at first, when that scene first happened, when Seth MacFarlane came up and he's like, all right, everyone, unfortunately, my first thought was, oh gosh, Seth, you're coming across so weak right now. I always, it takes me a while for an episode for Seth to really warm up with me in an episode. He always starts out as kind of, he doesn't grab me right away. And so when he started addressing this Mexican, bandit or whatever it was, and I'm kind of like going, all right, where's this going? I'm not sure I like it yet. But as soon as he's like, did you change the programming?
By the way, don't get offended that he said Mexican. It was definitely meant to be like a Mexican standoff.
I mean, it's obvious, right?
Just in case there's people listening that are upset about last night's episode.
Oh,
Relax.
well, no.
It was
I mean,
definitely a Mexican standoff. There's no racial overtones here. It was a Mexican standoff.
I don't want to take this to that place because I don't think that this is where it belongs.
It's going to be taken there, no matter what you do, Shane.
Well, that was a Mexican. So the character, I believe, should have been a person from south of the American border, which we generally call Mexican people. So when I say a Mexican bandit, I actually mean the person physically from that location, from the
wearing
American
a sombrero.
West. I wrongly feel that that's probably the case. I mean, could he be Irish? Maybe.
Maybe he's
with
an Irishman
accent?
with a sombrero.
I don't know. Listen,
how dare you?
Folks.
How dare you assume his pronoun? Oh, you're saying his. How dare you?
Could have been a girl. Could have been a woman. Let's bring it back to the middle, folks. Come on, Brian.
Come on,
bring it back to
man.
the middle.
Come on.
So anyways, I love when Scott Grimes kind of is like, Gordon, the character on the show. He's like, oh yeah. Don't you like it? Don't you like the changes I made to the program? I messed with the program, and it's awesome. He's doing what girls just want to have fun. He ends up dancing to as Seth MacFarlane leaves. So I thought that's great. Okay, if you want to pick it up where him and Bortus get together.
Yeah, and Bortus comes in and says, "Captain, I must speak to you." So they're in the middle of a mission.
That's a good Bortus impersonation, by the way.
Captain, I must speak to you. It's very important. They're in the middle of a mission. They're saving a planet from an asteroid, right? That's sort of this weird overtone. Like, they're doing something very important. They're saving an entire planet from an asteroid. An entire planet of people from an asteroid. Bortus is very concerned about this issue with his child. There's some social overtones there. Sometimes there's things that need to be worried about a little more than others. And we tend to really put a lot of emphasis nowadays on things that may not require that much brain power. So,
well, I don't know if that's where Seth was going with that, but I definitely think that happens a lot today.
It does, and maybe it's not, but they make a point of saying we're saving an entire planet. And
right,
Bortus
which
needs to
is
speak
cool
to him about this. Right.
Well, and also you could also say that saving of a planet, when you're talking about someone's child, that's bigger than saving a planet sometimes. When you're talking about saving your own child or going through something with your own children. So there's some equality to that scene.
Right.
So Bortus, that is saving a world. You know what I mean? He's saving his world by making sure that this girl becomes a boy.
His social standard or whatever.
Right. Or saving that's their culture.
Right. Whatever the culture is, right. And then, boom, they get a message from, what are they called? What are the Bortus people called? Maltos?
Oh, yeah, you're close.
You know what? I forgot. I'm sorry. We're on the third episode. I have not ingrained myself into the mythology that is the Orville yet.
It's Mocklin.
They got a call from a Mocklin ship, and the guy's like, listen, we're going to rendezvous with you. We're going to get the baby. And Seth, Ed is clearly upset with this because, Bortus, you called someone without talking to me?
Yeah.
Like, you don't do that in the military, right? They're a military vessel.
Well, I love how they actually make it so serious that Bortus basically is like, we might have to go to war over this. This is how serious this is in my culture. How serious it is. He basically threatened. He threatened him a little bit.
Well, that's when Captain Ed really started to show his strength for me. He's like, Are you kidding me right now? There was no joking in his voice. It was like, I'm in charge. Go sit down.
Yeah, I like that. That was good. He dismissed him. You're dismissed.
Right. And he dismissed Bortus, took him off, took him off duty. He can no longer work until they've resolved this issue, right?
Yeah.
Well, because he's not working, the crew decides to try to help him out. And they're trying to explain how strong a female is, and they put the Solarian female, Valeria, right? Right. Okay.
Laura.
Dang it. I would keep thinking about
Lieutenant Laura.
I keep thinking about Mass Effect.
Sage.
Laura, thank you. And they put Laura in a ring with him, and they're gonna do this classic 21st century boxing with Laura versus Bortus. Remind me a lot of TNG right there, because I've seen the really strong female characters going up against like Worf to show him that females are strong too and that kind of thing.
Well, also Voyager when when you had the first officer from Voyager boxed. He actually boxed on the TV show. So Chakotay.
No, that's right, Chakotay. That's right.
He boxed. He had a lot of episodes revolved around that.
Right. And now there are people saying they don't like the holodeck episodes, and I understand that. It's subjective, and there's parts of it that can be a little cheesy. But when they do a holodeck episode where they weave it perfectly in with what's happening in the narrative, and it meets a purpose, those are some of the best episodes Star Trek has ever turned out.
Well, and I'm not even 100% sure that I guess it was a holodeck, but all that was a boxing ring in a room. So I'm not even sure that was necessarily a holodeck. That might have been something they do for.
Well, no, it's a holodeck. They just created the boxing ring, right?
They should have had some fans or something if they wanted to. They should have gone a little more out. If it's a holodeck, then they should have had like an actual ring with the audience. Maybe. That would have been more believable. It didn't strike me. I didn't think, oh, we're on the holodeck again. That's not what came to my mind.
For me, that felt more like the way I've seen TNG and Voyager do their little mini holograph fighting sequences, where there's not much going on. It's just like a very plain set.
There's always a backdrop, though. Always a backdrop.
There usually is a backdrop. But sometimes the backdrop is just the lights of the holodeck. I've seen that too. Like when Captain's playing with the they're playing a game. It shows the holodeck behind them, and they create the game in front of them.
That's true. I guess here I just didn't get that feel. So if they intended for it to be a holodeck scene, it didn't. I didn't get there with me.
Okay. Well, she basically punches his lights out, and he's like, "I realize what you're trying to do, and I do not appreciate that." I can do Boris pretty good. I realize what you're trying to do, Shane. I do not appreciate that. And
man, you are so good. Stop.
I'm so good. And then the helmsmen decide they're gonna drink some booze with Boris.
So this is great. This is why it's another. Bring it back to Seth MacFarlane, the way he creates his shows. They've tried to be intelligent with him. They've tried to give him arguments. They've tried to show him through physicality. They've tried to do all these things, and it takes the two idiots to just come in and do it their way, and It absolutely works. Go ahead.
Right, and they show him that movie from like the 60s or 70s or something.
Yeah, it's the 1964 Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer made by Rankin Bass.
Yeah,
claymation, fantastic. It's a classic.
Classic. But it got Bortis. He's tearing up. Like
he's in it.
There's this thing about my daughter that is special, and I'm trying to remove it. How dare I feel? How dare do I think that it's a weakness when it can very much also be a strength? And this movie shows how special people can be special and be helpful, right? And he changes his perspective, right?
Completely, yeah. He's completely all in now on this,
right? And he's got to find Clytus. Nah, my names are so bad. He's got to find his name. What?
It's Clyden.
He's got to find Clyden.
Yeah, and let me give a shout out here. I want to say Peter Macon and Chad Coleman, who play Bortis and Clyden, they really did a great job this episode.
Yeah,
I thought their acting was on point. So they did really well. Really well.
So he goes to find Clyden. Clyden's shopping in the replicator room, which is a very cool thing. I like seeing that. Like they made you show that that's where people go to use their rations to make replicator things, right?
I guess they use rations. We haven't had that explained to us yet.
Right. I'm sorry. I'm assuming that because that's how it is in Star Trek. But Star Trek never actually showed what the replicator rooms looked like. They never showed that part. Not in any episode of Star Trek did you ever see a room full of replicators like a shopping center, right?
Right, yeah. You got a replicator in a room and you got what you wanted.
Right. So he goes in there and he's like, Clyden, I must speak to you. And he tells that alien officer to go away. That was really great. Yeah. He's like, leave now. The guy's like, okay, dick. I'm leaving.
Yeah.
And he has a pillow that says, have a slimy day.
Oh, is that what it said? Have a slimy day?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
It looks like a version of him on the pillow. Oh, it's great, man. That was really great because there's a lot of scenes in TNG where Worf is like, rips someone's head off, verbally. He's like, move, get out of here. And no one ever responds.
Yeah, that person wishes they could be like, I just want to call him a name right now, or just go off on him. Right. They never do.
Well, whenever I see that, I'm like, Worf is being a douchebag right now. Someone say something, but no one ever did, and now someone did. So,
yeah, they're keeping it real. That was good.
Yeah. So he tries to tell Clyden that he doesn't want to do it anymore, and he wants to show him the legacy of Rudolph. And Clyden is pretty stoic in his ways, and he's not going to change because he was a female and was changed at birth, and he found out a few years ago.
Boom. And he didn't tell his partner.
Did not tell his partner, and boom.
There's all kinds of weaving things happening here.
I heard a resounding scream from all the extremists. Ah! Going nuts.
Well, listen, the show talked about it. We're not going to avoid it. So, listen, if people don't like that we're talking about it, that's their problem.
Yeah. By the way, for all these problems, we don't care either way.
Yeah, I'm totally want to watch the show.
We just like TV.
Focus on that.
We like to watch TV, and we
like I like that it focused. I also like that I like that it brought back social issues. Not that I need one side or the other, smacking me in the face, but I like the fact that it's topical.
Yeah. You're right. Well, they decide they're gonna take it before a tribunal. They bring the ship comes and meet them, and that captain comes on board, and there's that great scene. There's that great scene where the Moclan captain is like, "You are very fragile, Captain. Are you aware of this?" And he's like, "Yes, there's an anti-bullying law named after me."
Yeah, that was good.
But he was, even though he was making fun of himself, he was still standing in the guy's way. Like, I realize that you can break me, but we need to have I need to be a strong captain right now. And I love this episode where he stood up for, first of all, what was lawful, and then what his crew wanted, and he kept doing it, even though it reminded me. I had that Picard feeling where Picard was always like the small guy in the room with all the Klingons, trying to be Captain Picard. Had that feeling to it, but it was more fun.
I love also that they had a tribunal for this, because that is such a Star Trek thing to do.
It's such a Star Trek thing to do.
Some of the best Star Trek episodes were where you had to go to court, and I love that already episode 3 we're getting one, so that was cool.
Yeah, and when they needed to pick a lawyer to be his lawyer, he went with Kelly, and it was perfect. First of all, in this instance, she is more qualified to be his lawyer than the captain is, because of her schooling, right?
Right.
But it also fits perfectly that the female, the head female on the ship is going to be the one being a lawyer in this case. It works.
Yeah, it definitely works out, and I think
#feminism.
Captain Ed kind of stepped aside for this. He's like, I don't know I can't do this.
Right.
And in all the other ones, it was always either the captain or the first officer that basically stood in as the lawyer for whoever was on trial. So
right, and that really worked. Now, them going down to the planet. At first, I was like, "Oh, they're gonna have some goofy joke here." When they showed them first going down, I'm like, "They're gonna have some goofy joke here because it's not necessary to show them going down to the planet, right?"
Right.
But the goofy jokes actually worked. First of all, it showed us what the Moclan world was all about. This super industrialized world. They're a bunch of weapons manufacturers, and the entire planet is like their main export is weapons, right? And that point when he's like, "I'm gonna need a pair of pants," he's like, "We'll have your pants." And she goes, "He's kidding." No, he's not.
Well, there was like also an overture that maybe they tried to kill them on their way in.
Yeah, it was an accident. My bad.
It was kind of like, what just happened there?
Yeah,
so
someone in the flight deck allowed them to go through that dangerous. I'm like, "Oh, it was just added this morning. We apologize."
Yeah, so that was kind of weird. I mean, I'm not sure what message. I don't know if that was kind of a mess up. I guess they're trying to say that to the Moclan, this is so important that they're willing to, I guess, kill the crew accidentally, maybe. So I'm not sure, but
yeah, or it was just meant for the joke, and we're reading too much into it. And we might read too much into these shows. It's possible. People ask from last show, they told me I read way too much into the frog. Maybe you're right. But for me, it connects on those levels, though, you know?
So what you're saying is maybe it just set up the need a change of pants joke.
Right, or it set up that joke, and it drove the point home that, yes, this is very important to the Mocklins, and they're warlike people, or they were warlike people.
Okay.
You know, and so the crew is going down to a bunch of people that have no problem killing them if it fits their agenda, right?
Fair enough.
They're very extreme in their beliefs. Okay, so the Mocklin world, by the way, just great setup. I like that. That's exactly what I would feel.
I'm glad they showed it.
Yeah, that's exactly what I feel like it would look like, you know. Very
Okay.
industrialized. Now we get to the tribunal, right? And Kelly's talking to this. I love the guy that played the lawyer. Did a great job.
Okay.
I don't know what his name is. I gotta look him up. But he did really well.
The actor is Antonio Charity, played Advocate Kagas.
Antonio Charity, fantastic, because you wore that makeup well. You killed it, man. He reminded me of those wharf tribunals in the TNG where it's like that one big old guy, cold Klingon guy that's weathered and just well spoken, you know.
Yeah.
Had that feel to it, you know. Anyways, so it's Kelly versus Antonio, or the Advocate.
Advocate Kagas. Yeah.
Advocate Kagas. And a series of questions. You know, he questions Bordas. She questions the Solarian female, Valeria, showing him... Valeria, god darn it.
Alara.
Alara, thank you. Thank you, Alara.
It's totally cool. I am here for you. Every time that happens,
Yeah.
I'm just going to be like,
Yeah,
boom, hit you on the head.
So she's questioning Laura. She takes the judge's gavel, brings it to her, and she has to make it into a ball. He can't do it, so she can. She's incredibly strong. We've already covered how, you know, it's a little OP to me, but it's fine. It works.
It's very OP.
It's very OP. And she, because of her gravity, then the Advocate makes a really good point, though. I bet you the men on her planet are even stronger than she is.
Yeah, so that's what I like about the show is that just, you know, they really tried to find the argument on every side, whether the point of view is correct or not. They tried to find the angle, and then you're throwing at me like, yeah, that is the way people think, you know. I don't know, but I got a problem with it from a scientific point of view. So if you have major gravity on your planet, and it's because of that reason you're incredibly strong. From a biological standpoint, I would think you would be stockier and there would be a biological equivalent to this strength. So I'm going to play along with it because it's a show, but the Star Trek side of me wants to say, where's the science in that? So
yeah, well, maybe, you know, maybe they're just incredibly dense. Like, maybe their muscles are such dense strings, you know.
Yeah.
Maybe she's like 600 pounds.
Maybe she weighs 1,000 pounds, and we just can't realize. Everywhere she walks around, the denting the floor a little bit.
Right. Who knows? Maybe we'll get that in the future. But
yeah, I don't know.
It's a TV show,
yeah,
and I can look past that.
Of course.
But so he brings up a good point, and boom, now she's questioning Grimes, trying to show that there's a human male who is dumber than females. I didn't really like that part because I know what she was trying to do. You know, I know what they're trying to do, and they can get a lot of good jokes out of making fun of Grimes. And like, contained, it's sort of funny, but in perspective, it's not, because who cares about this random male human? It has nothing to do with their species, you know.
Well, and it didn't. I don't think it. I mean, he is idiotic. His character's kind of that way. But asking him historical questions that, you know, from 300-400 years ago that probably people aren't going to know anyways. And, you know, you got to give him credit for even coming up with Bill Nye the Science Guy, because that was 400 years ago. How the heck would you know that anyways? I mean, it's just, you don't get he's an idiot because of the questions. I mean, not knowing the four stages of the heart, I would argue that a lot of people here didn't know that when they actually watched the show last night. So
yeah, I know it because my daughter has a heart condition.
Right.
But did I know it before my daughters were born 5 years ago? No.
Yeah. So I just thought it was a weak.
Right.
Yeah. I thought it was kind of a weak way to get that out and want to. I understand they wanted to say that some men are idiots. Not all men are smarter than all women. I just think that part failed a little bit. So despite that, I still enjoyed it. But.
Yeah, it's almost as if they tried to tackle like a feminist thing plus transgender thing. It was a weird like we're gonna take feminism and verse against transgender, and it's such a horrible it's such a hard thing to do and not piss people off. Like they were walking on eggshells, but they're dragging a bowl into the room with eggshells. It's like
right. Well, I think it was hard not to go there because you're talking about a changing sex, and it's from a woman to a man. So you have to have the arguments, and I think one thing just kind of leads into the other. So I don't know if he was like saying, I'm going to jump into feminism here, or so much that it seems to be almost attached to it when you're talking about one gender versus another.
Right.
You almost can't avoid it.
Right.
So,
right.
They were kind of stuck messing with it and dealing with it. I think he probably would have rather just put that aside and let's deal with gender specific issues, but it's impossible.
Well, yeah, I agree. I like it that they went to go find a female of that species.
A
Mocklin female, thank you, of that species. And they found her, and she ends up being the author that they've been quoting the whole time. That was really great.
That was great. I got the impression that author was centuries old, though, when they were quoting him earlier in the episode. So when that reveal came, I was a little confused. I was like, "Oh, okay." They didn't make it sound like it was a current person living now. That could have been
we don't know
probably
how long they live.
True, but and that's a good point. That hasn't been fleshed out, but in just following along the show, and I want to be honest here. I mean, I like the show, I do, but there are some little problems, and that was one of them. It didn't catch me as an aha right away when it happened. I had to take a second to think about it and think.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, threw me there. That would have been a great twist to the show, having her be that person, but there wasn't a very good setup for it, I don't think. So
you know what's funny, bro? I feel like these guys are in the writing room writing their outlines for a show, and every outline is like, wow, that's a great episode. But all the things in between, sometimes, I mean, not all of them, some of the things in between, that when you actually write the real script and the outline's done, and you have to write the actual script, some of the things in between the lines fall flat a little bit. So it's almost like the outlines for the show is amazing. Like, imagine this, and then this happens, therefore this happens, and you're like, wow, this is great. Now let's write a script. And when they write the actual script, it's a little bit disconnected.
Yeah. No, you're 100% right. The devices they're using to connect the main points are falling short. So they need to tighten up the writing a little more. They need to find, they wanted to use beating up on Gordon for being a dummy, which is not hard to do on the show. They wanted it to be able to connect it, but it didn't work. So they really need to just kind of, fuse it together a little more, be a little smarter with the writing. How could they have made him look stupid? I don't know. They could have put him there with a beer and just say, all right, there you go, guys, take a look. It's obvious that he's a fool. So
right.
Greatest pilot
very
in
lovable
the galaxy, but an idiot.
One of my favorite characters, but
Well, but so this is coming across wrong for me. Let's say a genius idiot, if that's the way you want to put it, because him and his partner came up with the idea to use Rudolph, which is what worked, right? It's the thing that got Bortus to change his mind.
Mm-hmm.
He is an amazing pilot. So there's this weird oxymoron going on with this character, where on one hand he's kind of a genius, and another hand he's kind of an idiot. So utilizing him in that place wouldn't have been good. She should have put Seth MacFarlane up there and asked him questions about being a husband or something. I mean, that would have probably been more useful.
It could have been, yeah. Anyways, regardless you're right, but it still works for me.
I still enjoyed it overall. Overall, I'm there.
There's some maturing to go, but it's getting there. And
yeah, it's pulling it together. The character development was good in this show. We saw the furthering. It's 3 episodes, so they're pulling it together. It's getting tighter.
Right. Now, next up, obviously they lose the case. If you've seen the show, they lose. Their daughter is going to be converted to a male. Clyden tries to, console Bortus. Bortus is not having it. He wants to go back to the ship. The captain tells him, "Yeah, go back to the ship, man." And it's a little bit of a sad moment. Like, usually in Star Trek, the crew gets what they want, but not in this instance. And that I feel like that's short of real maturity. Speaking of immaturity in the writing, but it's maturity in the writing. Like, that's how the real world would have played out, right?
Yeah, I feel like this was the best part of the show because I did not like it.
Right.
And let me try to explain a little more. It made me. I didn't want. I don't know if I'm a happy ending kind of guy. But you want to see the people that you care about win, and they didn't win, and so it was more like a nice dose of reality. What would really happen if you had a society that had felt a certain way for a long time, and you do the tribunal, you think that you prove it, but it still wasn't enough, and so we got that nice in-your-face kind of, this is kind of the way things really work, and I thought that was so smart for them to do. Instead of give Bortus the easy win and, hey, we get to keep the girl. No, he lost and he had to accept it and he was able to move on. And I love that at the very end, the most important thing was the child.
The child, it was still adorable, stay safe, healthy, and that was the most important thing.
And the parents were going to take care of that child no matter what else happened.
Regardless, right. And that was great. That was the right way to end it. It didn't feel goody. It felt real.
Yeah.
So that's how it ended, and we were happy with it. Now, there's something we need to speak about, though, that the Nielsen ratings saw this thing drop about 45% in ratings because the move from Sunday to Thursday.
Yes.
That doesn't mean less people like it, guys. That means that doesn't mean that the show was bad. Last night's episode was bad. That means that the different time slots. Sunday morning is a coveted time. Sunday night's a coveted time slot. Thursday night's not. It's harder to play on Thursday.
Well, there's more competition on Thursday as well. But Sunday night is a good TV time. Thursday night has always been must-see TV. So they'll refine their feet here on Thursdays. Just give it a week or two.
They were up against the season premiere of Gotham, the season finale of Zoo, Penn and Teller's Fool Us, a bunch of finales and premieres. And the movie nights, big movies were launching last night. So you're talking about
Kingsman last night.
Yeah, the Kingsman, which we saw. We're going to review that. Thursday is it is a must-see TV night, but it's much harder to deal with than Sunday because there's more competition, real life competition, as in you have to go to work the next day. There's movies that are coming out, finales are happening, season premieres are happening. Tuesdays and Thursdays are big nights for TV. So it's good that they're moved to one of those days, but there's going to be more competition, which means that there's going to be days where people are going to watch the premiere of Gotham or the finale of Zoo before they watch Orville, which doesn't mean they're not going to watch it. It means they're not going to watch it live. That's what that means.
Yeah, they're catching it on DVR.
Right.
They're catching it on Hulu. It'd be interesting to see the Hulu numbers of how many people watched it today. Right. I wish we could get DVR numbers.
You watched it on Hulu.
I watched it on Hulu. I did.
Yeah, so I mean, and Shane likes the show. It's just that he didn't have a chance because he was watching Kingsman last night.
Kingsman.
So
that's right.
I watched the DVR. Here's the thing: it's like Nielsen. I know it's like the end all for TV ratings, but it really shouldn't be, considering nowadays most people watch it on DVR or Hulu, anyways, or streaming.
Yeah, Nielsen's going to have to make a change, and we could do a whole episode on how that can change in the future. Maybe we will even do something on that. But yeah, I don't think you can hang your hat on Nielsen ratings at this point.
I know, but the studio will. So I want the fans out there to not to be worried that
Hulu numbers will matter in their decision making.
Absolutely. Okay. that's about it, guys. I liked last night's episode a lot. I thought episode 3 was strong. I think that the extreme right and the extreme left need to relax. And if you're not on one of those places and it still miffed you in some way, please remember, this is a comedy sci-fi show.
Sort of. They don't know exactly what it is right now. It's a
dramedy,
a comedy
sci-fi.
It's a dramedy. Yeah, it's a dramedy. I like that.
Yeah,
and I'm okay with it. Bring me up, bring me down.
Yeah, this is not a Lifetime movie. This is not a documentary. This is a TV show, fictional TV show.
Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. So I'm still in. I can't wait for next week. I'm curious to see where they're going to kind of go with things. I think next week we're going to get a pretty new content episode. So we got 2 kind of bled into 3. I don't think 3 is going to bleed into 4. I think we're going to start fresh with a new topic and a new set of circumstances. And I'm real curious to see. They might even do a revisit back to the fact that Ed doesn't know that Kelly got him the job. I think they need to start grasping at that storyline a little bit and moving it forward so we don't lose.
See, I disagree though. I feel like that should come up toward the end of the season, but they need to continue self-contained episodes.
They need to continue self-contained, but I think we need some sprinkles. We need a little bit of remember, and then you're right. At the end, the thing that gets us from 1 to 2 will have to be, the fact that there's a falling out between Ed and Kelly, basically.
Right. After we built their relationship up super strong in this season. They're
they were arm in arm at the end of that one. You said he had his arm around her back, she had her, so they're close. They're not romantically close. I think they realize that they should not be together.
Yeah, they don't work. We have to talk
had that
about
comment about us have a kid. Did you say us? They obviously don't think that way. So.
Right. Okay. That's it, guys. We'll see you guys tomorrow for the Kingsman review. Sneak peek. We got a lot to talk about.
Yeah, listen, if you get out tonight to see Kingsman so that you can watch us tomorrow. You're gonna want to see that spoiler review.
I agree.
Tomorrow, and it's a spoiler, so get out and see it tonight so you can hear us tomorrow.
It's worth the ticket price. We promise.
It's absolutely worth it. If you love, it is rated R. So just be prepared for that. And but it is a lot of fun. And I wish I could say something right now. I'm not going to say nothing because it would ruin. All I'm going to say is go see it. You won't be disappointed.
Okay, and send good wishes my way because I'm leaving here right now to go to the doctor's.
Yes,
thank you guys.
Take care of yourself. Absolutely.
We'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a great night. Enjoy the movie. Thanks.
See you tomorrow, guys.